Hey, what's up, guys? I am Caleb Giddings,
I'm Keith Finch.
And I'm Jack.
and Jack's back.
Not with AK-74s, though.
Yeah, we thought you
No.
were going to Ukraine to get Ukrainian brides and fully automatic weapons.
Sadly, that was not the case. I had a thing, a family matter I had to attend to. But I also attended to it so fast that I told no one what I was doing. You are not the only ones to think that I went to Europe.
You're like, whoosh.
I also I recently started dating someone, and I wasn't used to the fact that I have to tell people I'm going out of state, so I texted her from the airport.
How'd that go over?
She's like, where are you going? For how long? I'm like, I don't know, honestly.
You're like, I just gotta go,
My
sometimes
work from home privileges are showing, because I'll just go off. I don't even care anymore.
So speaking of Ukraine, and I wanted to talk about this before we get into the episode, but there's a video going around Twitter of Ukrainian fighter firing and law down into the top of a tank
Yes.
inside the, and it's the only reason it's not the best video in the history of the internet is because he was inside the minimum arming range for that round.
Yeah, so he just trick shotted it in, and it didn't go kablooey.
Which is just the whole thing's the whole shot was amazing. And I do want to comment again how wild it is that I can go on TikTok and watch live war footage, and also how the fact that I'm also going to now call bullshit on that scene in Saving Private Ryan where they elevate the tank's gun high enough to shoot that guy out of the tower.
Not happening.
Not happening.
Nope.
Not happening.
That tank could do nothing.
I remember watching that as a kid, be like, this is amazing. And then I got a little older. I'm like, this is bull. They couldn't have done this. And now I'm watching the Ukraine. I'm like, no.
All right.
Unsupported
armor.
Pretty fair. A couple of
kind
sticky bombs, a few machine guns, and one dude quoting Bible verses.
Dude, yeah, so we've definitely learned that unsupported armor in the city is a bad idea because dudes are going to lean out of windows with rocket launchers and blow your shit up. Also,
rocket launchers.
The post immediately under the video that I saw on Twitter, the post immediately under that was an image from The Hunt for Red October where Sean Connery goes, he's now removing the safeties on all his weapons.
Safety? What is safety? Just send it, comrade.
And if that had been a Panzerschreck 44, that would have been yet another dead Russian tank. Put it on the board, Bob.
Oh man! So what do you think? Do you think
the poor Russians inside the top of that turret who just shit themselves? Like, oh
my God!
I'm gonna say it. Fuck them.
Yeah. Don't go invading other people's shit. I mean, obviously, America's in no position.
Deserve it. I'm just saying they got to shit their pants instead of dying.
Anyway, we're not talking about Ukraine and anti-armor this week. We're actually talking about a recent. I guess it happens every time there's a sort of an ammo shortage, but people start making really cool 22s, I mean 22 is just as hard to find right now anyways, but a brick of 22 is still cheaper than a case of 9mm. And so you see a lot of this, and obviously the most recent one was the Sig P322, which looks like P365 and a 320 had a baby and chambered itself in 22, and it's got 21 round mags and a flat trigger, and that's kind of dope.
It's a cool pistol, and the immediate predecessor to that, the 502 from FN, that was also a really cool looking 22 pistol. So
I didn't know anything about the FN 502.
Yeah, it's slightly smaller, isn't it, Keith?
I think it's slightly, because that's the trend. I'd have to look it up dimension wise. It's slightly smaller than like the 509, I believe. It might be the same size as the 509, but it's in the FNX configuration where it's hammered fired, and it's red dot and threaded and suppressor capable and all of that. So it's like that. And then the 322 came out with SIG, and I'm just like, 22s are really fun again. I'm happy about this.
So it would be a great time to be a kid starting Steel Challenge right now.
Oh, super duper. Well, and it's not just that, because a year, 2 years ago now, I was up at Taurus's facility in Georgia for like, we're talking about their revolver line and a bunch of other stuff. And they had at the time a prototype for their new TX22 competition, which is a 22 pistol with a threaded barrel, and you can get it straight from Taurus with a muzzle brake. And what was neat about it was they built the optic mount into the barrel hood, so the optic doesn't reciprocate with the slide. It just stays there right on top, and it's we shot the piss out of their prototype until they were like, "Hey, can you guys chill for a minute?" I'm like, "But 22, fun."
I'm actually going to give credit to Taurus for kicking off this recent wave, because I think that's the pistol that did it. Honest to God, Taurus wins this round bit by going, "Hey guys, you remember 22? Look at this thing."
Also, Taurus, please make that in a 9mm. Please.
Yes.
You have to be bigger and Sunday. And the barrel moves.
What do I care?
Jack,
let me make this a size comparison for you. What do I care?
If you're listening to the audio version, Jack is palming a pumpkin right now, which is only slightly smaller than his head. The best part is the people that are listening to the audio version wouldn't have any idea that that was an absolute lie if I didn't just tell them right now, which is fantastic. So, but anyway, yeah, it's interesting. And because I remember when we did Ammo Crisis 1.0 back in 2013, and all of a sudden, and back then it was ARs. Everybody was like, we're making an AR-22, and Smith & Wesson was there with their M&P 1522 that they've been making since 2009. We're like, but we has already, but they came out with a whole bunch of new ones. They had like, that was when they came out with the Mo version and all of that stuff. So why do you guys think it's pistols this time? Is it just because there's already 800 AR-22s?
Yeah, I think if you wanted an AR-22, you got that already. I had a buddy who had one, and he wasn't doing anything with it. So I had signed up for a rifle class during Ammo Shortage 1.0. There was like a 5-day, 4,000 round rifle class. And it was a real, like, we did a lot of shooting up close. And I didn't have the money for the ammo. So I was like, hey, let me borrow that. I went and bought some mags, bought 6,000 rounds of 22. I took that class for under $300 with mags and everything. It was really great for that. If we had to shoot further, I think we were shooting, I think the furthest was like 100 yards, which you do all day with a 22.
You can do with a 22 rifle easily. So if your class is inside that, by all means, have fun.
I had a blast with it. I think it was a lot of fun, but I definitely think if you wanted one of those, you got one by now.
Or the market, I hate the term market saturation, because someone can always come up with a cool enough idea that you can restart a segment of the market. But the market saturation on like AR-22s is pretty high, because you know about the CMMG kit, you know that Tippmann has one, you know that Smith & Wesson's is kind of the OG in either the older version, which I had, which ran like a freaking top, which was one of the coolest things about it was it ate any 22. Smith & Wesson did a really good job of making sure it ate just about everything without a problem, where a lot of the other ones were real finicky, like, oh yeah, well, you have to buy, 22 Remington Golden Saber. You can't go and get CCI.
There's also like an MP5 clone in 22.
There's so many. You guys remember like the the weird days when HK wouldn't import any of their, like they didn't, HK
any of their good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and they don't make their own 22s anyways. Their 22s are all made by somebody else, Umarex. But the fun
mean like
story
everybody else's 22s except Smith & Wesson?
So fun story about the Umarex 22s. Actually, I was in the Umarex factory in Arnsberg for a media tour. Arnsberg's in Germany, guys. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but anyway, it's one of the cities we didn't burn down. So I was in the factory.
A little angrier, you'll get it right.
I was in the factory for a media tour, and taking pictures, and they're like, "This is," and it was a Walther organized event, and the Walther guys were like, "This is where we make the." I think at the time they were still making the P22, and they were making the Sig Mosquito at the time, which was, we can talk about the Sig Mosquito in a minute. and I saw a crate of what appeared to be MP5s. And I was like, MP5s are lit. And I went and I pointed my camera at it. And I was like, I'm going to take a picture of this crate of MP5s in the Arnsberg factory. And they were like, no, those don't exist. Because at the time, HK didn't want people to know that all of their MP5s and 416s and all of these 22 LR products were actually being produced by someone else and just getting HK stamped on them. But everybody knows that now. So it's not like I'm blowing the lid off some great big secret here.
Yep. And to the question we were asking earlier, the FN 502, since we're talking pistols, 22 pistols now, the FN 502 is full size. It's the same size as the 509, advertised as fitting most FN 509 holsters. So
is it optics ready?
Yeah, it's optics ready. It's threaded, and it's got proper higher sights on it. So you're supposed to put a dot on this thing.
That's pretty
go grab yourself an RMR, a Holosun, or whatever. Throw it on there. Go have fun.
Meanwhile, the Ruger 22, the Ruger Mark, I think they're on the Mark IV now. The Ruger Mark IV is over in the corner being like, don't you guys still love me? I was so
No,
cool.
We couldn't take you apart.
The Mark IV was like, we solved that finally. I'm like, it took too long.
It took too long. You're dead to us. Meanwhile, the
day in the gun shop, the sad man coming in with the parts. It's like, a Ruger.
I always did wonder.
Always wrapped up in some sort of cloth.
Yeah.
He was like,
in a plastic bag.
I'm just gonna like fold this up. I'm gonna take my bundle of shame in. Oh my god.
And the one thing I never understood about like during the tactical 22 rifle phase was like, I still see this to this day when I shoot steel challenge matches. You'll have guys with 22 rifles and stuff, and they don't fucking work. And I'm like, why were you different? And why didn't you just buy a 1022 and put CCI mini mags in it? And they're like, well, because I wanted to do the thing. And I'm like, but gun that works and that has worked for how old is that Ruger 1022 now? It's got to be old enough to collect Social Security. Hang on, Ruger 1022. We're going to Wikipedia here. It was 1964 was when the first Ruger 1022 came off the line. So it's almost old enough to collect Social Security. It's getting there. So anyway, lots of people are making cool 22s. Sig's new one is neat, and it's much better than the Sig Mosquito, because it would be impossible to be as bad as the Sig Mosquito.
Yeah, that was a rough time. It was a weird time in Sig firearms in general, especially here in the United States. They're like, hey, look, we brought back the 550 series. And we're like, really cool. And we're like, but it doesn't work this time. It's like, that's way less cool.
Well, that was the rainbow diamond plate era of Sig firearms when you could get the P238 380 rainbow diamand plate gun. And I'm like, this gun is ugly. This gun is really ugly. And it's funny because Sig's been through some, I mean, you could talk about Sig for a while. Like, you had Sig, the P series Sig, and like the law enforcement and German guns and blah, 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 and the stuff that gets all the kids dick hard. And then you had like the rainbow diamond plate era where you had guns that didn't work so great, and the Sig P250, which I maintain was a good gun, and just it was the wrong design at the wrong time. And now you have current Sig, which is like, hey, we're going to make a factory pistol that costs $1,500, is compensated, feeds from 21 round mags, and basically is a Staccato XC that works out of the box and costs 1/3 of what the Staccato costs. And go fuck yourselves, everybody else, which is great. Like the current version of Sig, they're making really cool guns. And I'm like, God dang it. And I told this to I
don't dare you turn it around, Sig.
Oh, I know. No, I saw Phil Strader. If you guys don't know who Phil is, he works for Sig. He's like, I don't remember what his actual title is, but it has something to do with pistols. So I saw Phil at a media event, and I shot their new P365 Spectre comp, and it's really fucking good. And I turned around, I looked him dead in the eye and said, hey, fuck you, Phil. I wanted to hate this gun because I'm the guy that doesn't want to give up my Beretta for the M18. So I've decided I don't like the M18, and by proxy, all other 320 products could get fucked.
What
and he's
a
like,
terrible
yeah, but
hill to die on.
it's okay. But you know what? As I get older, I've realized that if I had been in the army when they went from 1911s to Berettas, I'd be that guy who's been like, don't take away my 1911.
My 45, it's got steel
I get
wood
the
grips,
comfort
and
thing.
that's all I need. If I can't do it in 8 rounds, I can't do it.
Pretty much, yeah. That's me, except just with an M9 instead of a M18. And the M18's fine. There's nothing wrong with it other than the rear sight occasionally flies off. But other
that
than
happens
that,
on a lot of guns. That happens on way more guns.
That actually happens a lot.
I get a great video of an Air Force combat arms instructor shooting it, and the rear sight, because it's one piece and it covers where you would mount the optic as well, just yeets itself off into the sun. And he's like, that's not supposed to happen.
Well, that's problematic.
Okay, 22s, they're great. They're back.
Okay, but where are the 22s we want to see? Like, hold on.
Oh,
all the MP5s, I saw an Uzi version one time, and the ARs, those aren't what I want. You know what I want? I want a P90 22 long rifle.
Yes. Oh,
I really like
yes.
that idea.
There's got to be a way to make that mag work too. There has to be a way. There has to be a way.
I really like that idea. A 22 long rifle P90. Because I mean, everything else exists. You know, you've got, I mean, literally everything. You've got ARs, you have Uzis. Are there any 22 long rifle AKs?
Yes.
Yes.
They look weird and they don't feel as good.
There's an ATI one. I mean,
I don't know if they work or they don't work. They look too weird for me want to be seen on the range with one.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It has that Mossberg vibe where it's like, all right, at a distance it might be, but then as soon as you get close enough for any detail, it's like, oh no, nope.
You know what would be super cool if it worked? Was the STG 4422.
Oh yeah,
that gun looked so good. Unfortunately, it weighed 1 million pounds and it didn't.
As did the original, very authentic.
So. But it looked really cool. It was one of those where you're like, this looks so awesome. And then you're like, bang, click, frick. So
I was very confused when that gun came out in 300 Blackout. Who was that for? Who was the guy that was like, yeah, let's do this. Can I get one in 300 Blackout? They're like, yeah, we can do that for you.
One
guy who wants to shoot World War II lookalike gun unsuppressed. I guess because it was like closer to the 8mm Kurz round that they had.
I guess. I don't know.
I can feel kind of why they did it, because that's 7.62 by 35 versus 8 by 33. So it's close, and the ammo, my guess is their play was ammo availability. But like, look, if you're buying a niche rifle as a toy that's a World War II remake, like, you'll probably spring for the ammo too.
Yeah.
Or you won't, and it'll just be on the wall like, haha, look.
So 22s that I want, and this is 100% ripping off Jack's idea, because I was sitting here looking at a gun magazine on my side table. Then it's got a picture of this one gun manufacturer's gun on it, and I was like, I want a HKP7 and 22. And I know that Kel-Tex made like their like short boy and like 22 Magnum, and you can kind of like dress it up so it gets you there. No, I want the real thing. I want HK P7. I also want it in 22 Magnum because it is well known that I am ass stupid for 22 Magnum. But come on, just HK P7, 22 Magnum. I don't care about how you get it to work. Your HK, you figure that out. That's what I want, okay? And I want it in an SBR version and a pistol version, not some like bullcrap 16-inch barrel nonsense. SBRs, pistols, that's it.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, but we're going to pick up a thread that we just put down. I want the Bizon. I want the Bizon submachine gun with helical magazine. In 22.
Look, when this is over, we're taking a trip to the Ukraine for gun shopping, and you're telling me
the PP-19. I remember this gun legitimately, and I hate saying this word saying this out loud. My first and really only exposure to this gun was in Call of Duty.
Most people learned about that in Call of Duty. Like,
I understand that for you, a boomer, that's weird,
people.
but for millennials and Gen Z,
You're like
that's what we're
3 years
used to.
younger than me. Calm your tits over there. Call me a boomer. I am the eldest millennial. If anything, you could lump me in with Gen X. All right, jeez, boomers.
Gen X doesn't exist. I stand by
that is true.
Boomers all the time. Boomer is not an age bracket anymore. It's just
a mindset.
At a certain point. It's a mindset.
The two guns that are closest to me are a lever action rifle and a bolt action rifle. So sure, I accept this.
Boomer is a mindset.
Just throw those in the gun rack in the back of your K5 and head down to the Piggly Wiggly.
Okay, first off, if I had like a 1980s K5, that shit would be fire.
Truth.
There was a dude who sold a service station that was catty corner from us, and it was probably going to get turned into a Starbucks or some shit. But after he sold the service station, he had for sale in the front his 93 F-150 2-door with a bed, and he only wanted $6,000 for it. And the number of times I was like, just like my phone's in my hand, and I'm like, do you take Venmo? I'm like, what's the transaction cap on Venmo? It looked great, but then gas prices went up to $18 a gallon. So I'm glad I didn't buy a 93 F-150.
That thing rates itself in gallons per mile.
Oh Lord.
Like an Abrams.
Like an Abrams, which could also probably
Abrams main battle tank, Bradley fighting vehicle, F-150, gas mileage chart.
90s F-150 at that. The engine is just a big lump of angry iron. It's not like particularly well machined. It's just in there.
We just machined enough off so it would fit in the space. We stopped there.
Oh man. Oh, that actually reminds me of one other thing we can tack on to the end of this episode, because we have mentioned FN multiple times. The new FN high power, I shot it. It slaps. It's not a high power, like in the sense that it's so the best way you can explain the new high power to somebody is it's like a 2022 Dodge Challenger compared to a 1965 Dodge Challenger, right? They're both really good at what they're supposed to do, and they're not the same thing.
I really want one in the nickel finish.
Of course you do. No, so what you want is a Taurus PT 1911 and 38 Super with a nickel slide and gold-plated grips with the Virgin Mary. I nearly bought a
cartel gun. Oh my god!
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, you guys still like, hey, make me an offer on this thing. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to like float an offer because you might accept it. Then I'm like, no.
Everybody raise your hand if you've bid on something on Gunbroker that the next morning you're like, I wish I hadn't done that. And then you're watching the auction the whole time. You're like, I don't want to win this. I don't want to
win this. Somebody outbid me. Somebody do it. Somebody do it. And everybody else is like, nah, sucker, that's you.
And they're like, congratulations. You're now the proud owner of an 8-shot 38 Super revolver. Awesome. This is cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. We managed to almost stay on topic, but not really. For the guys listening out there, thank you everyone for watching, listening, liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure that you do all of those things in reverse. Send this to your friends. I haven't heard anything from Uber drivers playing this loudly in their cars, so I'm going to need somebody to step up on that one for us. And we will be back.
Thank you to the 3 people that sent memes, by the way.
Oh yes. I did get a meme. Yeah, Keith forwarded me the best one was the look what they have to do to mimic a fraction of our power meme, and I was so pleased with that. I was like, yay! Oh, so yes, thank you everyone. Continue to send in memes. Memes bring life. I would like to see max level Will Smith slapping Chris Rock memes come in the weekend between this and our next episode.
I'm here for it. Send it.